Oh. Oh. Who the fuck just called me? Oh, it's the same number as before. One second, I need to do something. I'm gonna have to call them tomorrow. I gotta call State Farm and I gotta call Healthy Michigan because I don't need that shit anymore. Oops, shit. Push that too much. Here's a splash screen for you to look at. It won't show up unless I do this. Now it will show up. Oh, server's up. I don't think my headset's on. No, it wasn't. Alright, so what was I doing? Oh, I had to go back there, don't I? You know, I could probably just buy this stuff from the auction house. I'm gonna try. I don't know if there's an auctioneer around here, but I'm gonna look.
brings you here?
Oh, I need the clam meat. And I need the coyote meat? No. I need boar ribs. And I think that's it. Raptor flesh. So certain quest items, I guess, don't consume themselves when you complete the quest. Because I'm pretty sure in Wrath, like if you're using a quest item for something and you complete the quest, it takes it out of your inventory. But I guess it doesn't do that in vanilla.
I have just the thing for you.
There he is. I'm gonna buy all of it. Still gonna have to go farm some, but that's fine. Where's the damn mailbox? Oh, there it is. I need 10 more. Alright, where's the evergreen pouch? $10-minute cooldown? Why is that necessary? What? Whatever. I have to fly back there anyway. It's gonna say, oh, shit. It's Gonna take about 10 minutes anyway.
Hail.
This doesn't help me at all. Yeah, this extension's a piece of shit. You can do whatever you want. This sucks. Apparently extensions won't fix it either. I could just get an auto scroller. I'm gonna get an auto scroller. That's as fast as you can go. Whatever. How's it my fault? Are you retarded? Yeah, that's right. Why the fuck do I need to come get you? You're an adult. Figure it out. And since you insist on being in a sour mood, when you get home, you can clean up Bella's potty pad. She left plenty of shit on there for you. She knows how much you enjoy picking it up. Well, you'll figure it out. I can heat up my own bacon if I have to. Actually, no, I'll wait because it's only going to take you a second to make dinner. So how are all the cool kids getting down here nowadays? Really could go for a slow fall. This last one's a doozy. Oh shit. Oh, Mana Shield doesn't do anything for falling. I learned that today. I got swooped the looped twice. I'm gonna die. No? Uh. Oh shit, my camera got all jacked up. Nice to see some horde around here. Except, I need these dinosaurs too. Motherfucker. How dare you walk away from me? Now he's gonna walk towards me and he's gonna be like all the way next to me by the time I cast this. I'm not gonna have any room to cast any other spells. Yeah, that's right. Don't drop anything. Ass wipe. Oh shit. You would daze me. Stop. Oh, I didn't see this one. Hold on a second.
Adam Sessler has lost his mind again. I know, shocking. Hey everybody, even though I'm going back to my house today, you're still going to be seeing gameplay videos for a bit because in my two-family home on the other side, they have not gone to my side of the house.
It is a nice cock, you're right about that.
They all have COVID. But I have to go back home, I have to get back to streaming, and that's where I need to do it. So with all the crazy crap going on with me right now, the best...
I have to, every single time I see one of these, I always remember all of the ads in like the local, you know, like social networks like Nextdoor of like people that are desperately trying to give away their chickens. Because they bought them and they were this cute little yellow chocobo, and then fucking 6 months later, you've got a big brown cock walking around the backyard, shitting on the patio, and going at 5:30 in the fucking morning. And you will do anything. Like these people, they were saying, we will drive the chicken to you. If you are within a 30-mile radius of our home, we are giving away this chicken and we will hand deliver it to you because we cannot fucking deal with this piece of shit anymore. Yeah, drive it to KFC. You practice it? No, I didn't. I've just heard chickens before.
Thing you could do is two things: subscribe and click like. Also in the description, okay, maybe this is more than two things, I'll have links to all of my socials. Follow me there. It's the best thing you could do, and I appreciate the support. Thank you. Skip it up and that up.
Hey everybody, your favorite man with an ass is now on Cameo. You can get your own personalized video message sent directly from me to you. Link to my Cameo.
Yeah, I had to fucking do this because now the only thing people need to get a personalized message from me for is tell me they disagree with one of my opinions, and they get one of these for fucking free.
Go below in the description. I look forward to seeing you there.
So we know the story with G4 TV.
Okay.
It was on cable in the early 2000s. It
Yes.
was somewhat popular for a while, but times changed. It fizzled out. Everyone moved over to
They got
user-generated
rid of the girls in the bikinis. I mean, that was a fucking that was fucking mistake number one. I could have told you that.
because there's a billion different fantastic reviewers on YouTube that did the job better than G4 TV can do. It's just a relic of a different age. But
No, if they brought on girls with bikinis, with big ass titties, talking about video games, it would have been popular. Like, listen, how many of these fucking bot OnlyFans girls type gaming anime Valorant with some fucking picture to like a 5% off, which is like nothing, by the way, sale for their OnlyFans, and they get 3,000 likes by a bunch of simps with fucking anime profiles, anime profile pictures. Yeah, they fucking constantly do this shit. So it's, no, this is not, by the way, this is not a tapped out market. This is a market with no market cap.
nonetheless, they thought the nostalgia would make G4 TV popular if they rebooted it, and it didn't work. And no, it was not just because of the Frost Grant. The Frost Grant would have been like a fart in the wind if they actually had quality content. Their content was mediocre at best. It was just competent. It was edited fine, but there was no...
I think Austin and Will's stuff was great. I feel bad for them losing their job. I think they were great.
nothing that made it stand out from every other reviewer on YouTube. So, yeah, it failed, and Comcast pulled the plug.
And Adam Sessler already has his own channel.
G4 TV is now officially dead. Well, Adam Sessler, who is known for saying...
See, I knew it was being rebooted. I didn't know it went away that quick. It was like just there and gone, blink of an eye, just for a second. I never watched it, so I don't fucking watch TV, duh. But it's kind of sad.
Some very colorful things.
And this guy, Adam Sessler, by the way, everybody's like, wow, this guy's such an asshole. He was an asshole back then, too. He's always an asshole. That's why people watch this show, is because he was an asshole. So I don't know why everybody gets their fucking gets their panties in a bunch about this fucking shit. They're getting so mad about Adam's. Oh, he's making me so mad. He's being mean. This is the whole reason he was popular in the first place. Is he would always make people mad.
Like, if people piss him off, he feels that it's justified to dox them. I'm not kidding. He
That's over the line. Everybody knows that's over the line.
said that sitting next to Jim Stephanie Sterling back in the day. Went insane again on Twitter. It actually started off fairly normal, but then things went downhill very quickly. We'll start off with the normal tweet, though. Here is Adam. Want to send my best wishes to some of the best and most talented people I've ever worked with. Please hit me up if there's some way I can help. You're all too awesome to not find your way. Big love. Perfect.
That seems pretty fine. Yep, that seems okay. All right.
Fine tweet. That's if it ended there, that would have been
But it's not going to end there because we're only 2 minutes into the video.
fantastic from Adam. But it didn't end there. It went from 0 to 1,000 in the wrong direction. Here are some of his other tweets and replies to people. And to those misguided who need to send vitriol, go right ahead. I'll keep taking your hits like I have for over 20 years. I'll still be here just caring about the good people who got jacked. Which,
I think that's fine. That's fine. Like, sure. Yeah, this part's totally fucking fine.
you know, you're poking at the hornet's nest a little bit with that, but if it stopped there...
Because, you know, a lot of people were celebrating G4 falling apart because they didn't like Frosk, that girl who went on the rant about how gamers are sexist. Yeah, so they're shitting on him. Of course he's gonna say this.
I would not be making... I would not be making this video. I've said worse things on Twitter. Like, I literally just
Oh,
got
so it's
suspended
not
for
even
12 hours on
100% chance to do
Now,
that?
Adam Sessler,
I got suspended one time.
Oh
because I
my
put something
goodness.
fat
I'm
on
gonna be
Twitter.
here a little while.
He said he was gonna fucking beat me up. I said, your fat ass can't even get out of the house. The fuck out of here. You're gonna beat me up. You don't know you're not. And after that, I have like a new policy that anytime anybody fucking talks shit to me, I just block them. Because I'm not gonna sit there and take it. I'm not gonna be like Harambe or one of these fucking gorillas in the zoo that people get to go down and throw peanuts at them and just make them mad. Because the one time that a kid gets in the encampment, in the enclosure, and Harambe's like, finally, I'm gonna let loose, he's dead. Yeah. Nobody's gonna fucking do that to me.
goes downhill and starts quote tweeting and fighting
Harambe
with
did nothing wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, neither did I.
people. This is a habit of his, and it starts to not make him look good, which is me putting it nicely.
Okay.
Someone said to Adam Sessler, your inability to listen to any criticism, no matter how valid, for 20 years is staggering. Adam,
Good for
Still
him.
no crit.
What the fuck do they know?
Oh wait, I
They
got
knew-
this.
They've known about him for 20 years. He's never known about this random fucking guy on the internet. Why the fuck should he listen to criticism from some random idiot?
replies with this. Your ability to listen to me without any regard for independent thought for 20 years is quite staggering too. Again, he's just being a prick. I do that. But here we
There's
go.
nothing wrong with that.
Wait for it. He brings in the mom jokes. Yes, a soon-to-be 50-year-old man is using mom jokes.
This is totally fucking fine.
Yeah.
This is why people watch him. Is because he's a 50-year-old man probably saying, I'm gonna fuck your mom. That's the whole reason. It's like Keemstar.
So, someone wrote to him, he often gets into politics too. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into politics. Someone wrote to him, I'm sure a washed-up, middle-aged man like you will be back on his feet in no time in this roaring economy created by the Democratic Party. Excited to see your next project. Good luck, sir. And he replies back with, just ask...
Oh god, okay, alright, now let's dial this up to 11. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother.
your mom. I'm doing fine. I'm literally, I wish you could see me, like, in the normal studio set.
That is totally fine. I don't have anything wrong with that. Like, I still have not. Adam Sessler hasn't said anything so far that I consider anything. This is not even a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. These are all zeros.
I'm face palming right now. Dude, you're 49 and bringing up mom jokes.
Yeah,
Stop.
that's right.
Like you couldn't have thought of anything more clever. It continues though.
Of course.
Now, of course, you're gonna have the plebes and oh, you got woke and went broke. Someone said to Adam Sessler, he replied with, "Do you wits have one writer who only
was, I think, 3 days ago.
He dismounted?
Because somebody asked me
Fuck.
if I have cheese on my dick, and I said, ask your mom.
Okay. He says, also like a real adult, unlike your mom, I have multiple incomes. Go, a sheep again, you desperate. Another word I can't say.
He's gonna stun me? Yep. No, he
Yeah,
canceled it.
He's going insane here. It doesn't end though. Let's continue.
Bro, this is such a non-issue. I'm gonna be honest, like, come on. Like, this guy has gone unhinged multiple times before. Please, let's see him really go. This is not insane. This is some fucking, like, he probably knows it's ridiculous even whenever he's tweeting it himself.
Another mom joke. Here, someone wrote to him, "Oh wow, so
I need
we're
one more
embracing
blank.
stereotype and unironically using ha as an insult for people who disagree with us. Adam, while we're over here being quote-unquote adults, maybe we could grow also a thicker skin and not lower ourselves to your mom jokes. Just a thought." And Adam,
Dude, what a bunch of pussies. What an absolute bunch of fucking pussies. They come at Adam Sessler and they're talking shit about him. And then they're like, oh, why are you getting mad? What the fuck? You were just talking shit. What are you doing?
Adam wrote back, "Your mom's got thick skin." I can't.
I think I lost him.
I can't with Adam. Adam, what are you doing? It keeps going though. We're not done. The hits keep coming. And someone justifiably called him out for grown man resorting to your mom claps. This is how grown adults cope, I guess.
No,
that's
no
an elite.
shot, because
Or
here's
rare,
the thing.
whatever. I don't know.
I've gone through this. Yeah, he did drive into that wall. That was, he fucked that one up, huh? But listen, this guy, what? So if he comes out with some, all right. So let's go down the web of. Let's pretend like we're playing one of these fucking, you know, adventure games, and it's like choose your response. If he did,
Why is that
your
ooh still
mom's
following me?
response,
Thank you.
He's gonna get people saying this. If he came up with some elaborate personal response to make the guy feel like shit, people are gonna call him an asshole. If he blocked them, they're gonna call him a pussy. If he didn't respond, then he's afraid of talking to his fans. There's literally no way that he can win in this situation. Yeah, there's no way. And then also, if he...
I thought this was going to be a better video than it ended up being. Oh well. This is all Johnny Depp trial reactions. Am I dead yet? I said that before I even alt-tab, or alt-tab back in, by the way. I knew it was gonna happen. This extension sucks. Oh, look, he's still over there, too. Asshole. Somebody just ran off over here. It's not very fast. Oh, I'm sure that's what happened. Be right back. You start being poopy first, little girl. Blaming me for your fucking inability to get a driver's license. Or inability to get a ride, you know, from work. So I would check yourself. Because now I'm going to be shitty with you all night. And you're just going to have to deal with it.
charge in.
Alright, this one sucks too. I'm gonna have to refresh this.
I can't cast that yet. I can't cast that yet. Isn't ready yet.
Oh wow, that dropped 4 of them. This ain't so bad. Let's see if I can kill this matriarch. Oh yeah. Not even a discussion. Oh, she dropped a cape? That isn't as good as the one I have now? What? Fuck you.
Not still recharging.
This auto scroller sucks. I guess the only other way to do this would be to go to Google and search like by time frame. I love you too. I'm gonna wait till the next one.
Yeah, we'll randomize the.
I didn't know he had a whole nother channel. I'm dead. Nope. I'm still alive, unfortunately. Still breathing. Nope. Back up. Hmm.
Why were vanilla dungeons so long? Well, because the designers thought people would only do them once. In order to explain why pretty much all of the vanilla dungeons were so long, I kind of have to explain the philosophy behind MMO dungeons at the time. Before WoW, EverQuest was the most popular MMORPG on the market, and they didn't have instance dungeons or raids. What this meant was that every single dungeon or raid boss in the game was essentially an open world dungeon or world boss. So guilds had to fight each other for the opportunity to clear dungeons, and had to fight off constant attempts to kill raid bosses. And since EverQuest had player collusion, they would sometimes hire other guilds that just had big character models to stand at the entrances of dungeons to literally body block people from getting in, just so they could complete it. And because of this dungeon design philosophy, only the most hardcore players got to do dungeons, and it wasn't something everyone was able to experience. And World of Warcraft could have easily gone down this same path, as a lot of the development team were hardcore EverQuest players, and there was a huge argument about whether or not WoW dungeons should be instanced or not. Now, we all know which side won that debate in the end, as all dungeons and raids take place in separate instances, so that anyone can do them if they want, as long as they have a group. But it very easily could have gone the other way. And since there was not too many standards when it came to MMOs yet, the
They added in outdoor dungeons too, basically, so everybody won, in my opinion.
standard for dungeon design was to just make them really big, kinda like D&D dungeons, which also partly contributed to their large designs, as in D&D, players basically only complete a dungeon once, and if they ever return to it, it's usually pretty much empty. And under a one-time dungeon visit rule, it makes sense for them to be big or massive.
I'm probably
and have
dying here.
lots of things to explore or navigate, with tons of bosses along the way. And I think it was under these two design philosophies, where developers didn't think people would do a dungeon more than once, and that there wasn't really a precedent for repeatable dungeons in mainstream games yet, that led to developers kind of going crazy with their sizes. Once they created the Dead Mines, they basically used that as a benchmark for how big other dungeons needed to be, and for how raids and high-level dungeons needed to be bigger. On screen, I'll show you a little diagram of the Wailing Caverns development from the WoW Diary, and you can see the original dungeon looked pretty similar to a modern-day dungeon.
Nope,
Before
I'm
they then
still alive.
doubled the length of it, added side wings to it, and then added a maze section to double the size of it again. Although even at the time, they thought the maze section was a little too much, so they added little mushrooms in the cave to help navigate the maze better. Although they made a mistake, and the mushrooms blended into the environment too well, so that didn't really help with navigations very much, as people just thought it was normal ground clutter. And taking a quote from the WoW Diary, "In hindsight, it seems obvious that our early dungeons were too big, but previous MMO dungeons were epic experiences embraced by only the most hardcore players." The paradigm of big dungeons was established by EverQuest's non-instance play spaces, where play spaces needed to accommodate everyone on the server who wanted to go there. Besides, we didn't want people to play through content too fast, otherwise they'd be done with WoW in only a couple of months. What we didn't realize was how much private play spaces, instances, would shrink the amount of overall play space needed. Besides, the concept of short, one-hour dungeons didn't exist in MMOs. The closest things to one-hour dungeons were the wings of Aaron Keller's Scarlet Monastery. We learned only after shipping WoW that players really liked short dungeon runs, and so the Scarlet Monastery's wing approach was the direction taken by subsequent expansions. So basically, they created massive mega dungeons because they expected players to explore it maybe once, but they had also created a system of gearing that required players to run dungeons multiple times. And you can kind of see the disconnect between the different parts of the development team. The people who added gear to raids were not really the same people who designed the dungeons. And you also had different people who designed the fights for those dungeons. So while they were created with the intention of running through them multiple times, they were also kind of created to only be ran once, as they didn't think players would enjoy doing the same dungeon more than one time. So with future expansions, they significantly reduced the size of dungeons, and in the Burning Crusade, there was just a whole bunch of short dungeons, and occasionally they might have a dungeon that's a little bit longer than normal, but all of the biggest dungeons in the game are all still pretty much every single dungeon from vanilla WoW. And whenever they remade one of the old dungeons, they would usually cut them in parts or completely remove parts of the dungeon, like they did with Skolamons or the Sunken Temple. They've neutered pretty much all of the original classic dungeons to the point where none of them are as long as they used to be. and you have to play Classic WoW if you want to do dungeons in their original mega forms. And it turns out players like the smaller dungeons. People like to get through a dungeon quickly, and big, long dungeons are just kind of tedious once you've done them for a second or third time. So that's why vanilla dungeons were long, and why dungeons after vanilla WoW were created much smaller. Alright, and if you've enjoyed this video, I have a whole playlist of other mini videos about random When the WoW developers were first planning out which classes players would be allowed to play, Druids were not on that original shortlist. But Blizzard did have 9 classes planned in the original list. Basically, warriors, paladins, shamans, priests, hunters, mages, and warlocks were all on the design table from the beginning. And in addition to those 7, they also had assassins and rune masters. Assassins eventually got converted into rogues, as they even have a spec called assassination, and rune masters were never actually added to the game. Now, the idea behind rune masters was to have an unarmed fighter who had runes on their body which gave them magical properties, and they were kind of like an enchanter, but a whole class based around enchanting their bodies in order to do magic or physical feats. And they had even planned on having rune masters being one of the hero classes once they eventually decided to not include them in vanilla. And he would be alongside the Death Knights and Necromancers. And that also means they had planned on adding Necromancers to the game at some point, just as a hero class which was supposed to be better than normal classes. So they never actually went with Rune Masters, but they did like the ideas behind some of its flavor. So they kind of split it up into the Death Knight and Monk classes that were eventually added. Death Knights have a rune system to use their magic, similar to how they wanted Rune Masters to work, and Monks are an unarmed class, who do basically the other side of what Rune Masters were supposed to be. And then they eventually just added Druids because that's a fantasy staple, and there were already some pretty notable lore figures that are Druids, so it only made sense for them to add them. And funny enough, Druids were not the last class added into the game, or programmed in anyway. They just weren't on the original design table for classes. Hunters were actually the last class to be added, or programmed into the game, and even then, they only barely made it in. And their design philosophy with Druids was that they wanted them to shapeshift a whole bunch, so they gave Druids a whole bunch of abilities that could only be used in their various shapeshifting forms. And they'd intended for players to be constantly shapeshifting in battle in order to do their full rotations and stuff. But there was one little caveat to this that they had kind of overlooked. Shapeshifting cost way too much mana to do that. And the final talent point in their feral tree for a time was a talent that reduced the shapeshifting cost by 25%. Which did not alleviate this problem at all, I might add. Shapeshifting still cost a ton of mana, but Blizzard was happy if a class was good at least one role in a raid, and Druids could function as a healer in raids, as they gave innervates to priests or other healers, so they considered them good to go, even if the design philosophy they were supposed to be doing in raids didn't actually work. You know, the whole shapeshift and a whole bunch of things. Eventually, later on in the game's history, they did a much better job of encouraging Druids to shapeshift more in combat, but generally only in PvP, as PvP players would shift into bear form in order to tank damage or to use their stun ability, and then shift into travel form to run away or go behind pillars, then go into human form to heal up. So if you want the true shape-shifting Druid fantasy, you kind of have to play PvP for it, as in raids and dungeons you basically just stay in one form the whole time. Alright, and that's it for the video. I know it's kind of a short one, but basically, when they were deciding which classes to add to the game, Druids weren't on the table at first, but they eventually did get added in. And one of the classes they did have on the original list never got added to the game.
The more you know. Just resist fucking everything. Like, why should I even bother?
In this video, we'll go over 10 talents from Vanilla WoW that are a little weird, in the way that they're either really
Awesome.
bad, out of place, or just did a unique thing. But mostly, a lot of these are just
All
going to be
done.
kind of bad. And starting off, we'll go with one of those out of place talents. So number 10 will be Weapon Balance. Now, I'm going to read you what this talent does, and I want you to guess which class and spec it belongs to. Increases the damage you deal with melee weapons by 2%, up to a maximum of 10% with 5 talent points. Now, would you think this was a talent for a weapon-based class, like a warrior, rogue, or paladin? Well, you'd be wrong, because this was a deep talent in the Balanced Druid tree. Weapon Balance was a 20-point talent for Balanced Druids, a spec that today could be more accurately described as a pure caster class. In Vanilla WoW, or in the early days of Vanilla WoW anyway, Balanced Druids didn't really have a niche yet, and their talents generally increased the damage or interacted with their spell casting, with the final talent in the tree being Hurricane, a spell casting AoE. And then randomly there was Weapon Balance, which increased the damage they did with their melee weapons, despite the fact that they had no melee attacks with weapons, nor any other talents in the balance tree that indicated they wanted to use melee weapons. Now, druids did have melee abilities, while in cat or bear form, this talent did not affect those. Eventually though, in a later patch, weapon balance was removed from druids, and they kind of redid the talent tree a little bit to be more spellcasting focused, and even gave them Moonkin form as their final talent. And at number 9, we have Curse of Exhaustion. Curse of Exhaustion in its first form was kind of a unique slow. Curse of Exhaustion was a 20-point talent in the Affliction tree, and it gave the Warlock a curse with the effect of reduce the target speed to 90% of their normal run speed for 12 seconds. Now, what's interesting about this is that it doesn't just say lower your target speed by 10%. It says reduce their speed to 90% of normal. And this little distinction actually makes it so it's a little bit more useful than the standard slow. Now, there was also another talent right next to this one, which would increase the slow to 30.
Reasonable wage, humble service.
Ancestors watch.
Oh, it's a repeatable quest. I don't need that shit. Ooh, stuff. Ooh. I'm probably gonna... Oh, no, actually, that would synergize, sort of, with my, fuckery. Anyway, don't I have that other quest now? Where is it? There it is. Is that Laura? Is that Laura, puppy?
Well met.
Let's go see. Let's go see.
two different domains. So.
Yeah, I'll... They put Laura. Alright. Vagina.
I need to target something first.
Oh shit. So northern, huh?
%, which most people took with this talent, so I'm just going to refer to it as a 30% slow for the rest of this part. Anyways, with its unique wording, if
Going
you
the wrong
apply
way.
Cursive Exhaustion to a player on a mount, for example, it would first reduce the running speed to the standard 100%, so completely ignoring the mount movement speed increase, and then it would apply the 30% slow, whereas other movement speed decreases would just slow on top of the mounted speed, and not slow for as much as Cursive Exhaustion. Or if used on any other run speed increase, like a sprint, for example, it would lower the run speed to 100%, and then lower that by another 30%. It would just normalize the run speed, and then slow them, which made it a pretty decent slow. And then in a later patch in Vanilla, Blizzard removed this distinction, and just turned Cursive Exhaustion into a normal slow, with its new effect being, reduces the target movement speed by 30% for 12 seconds. So, the reason this one even makes this list wasn't because it was bad, but because its effect was unique.
Did you want your friend
And at number 8, we have
Please.
Throwing Weapons Specialization. This was a 25-point combat rogue talent with 2 ranks that would increase the range of your thrown weapons by 6 yards. Now, here's the thing about thrown weapons in Vanilla WoW. They sucked. Thrown weapons did terrible damage, required you to aim the weapon, or I guess had a casting time, and had a cooldown. You could only use the throwing weapon once, or maybe twice, if you had a fast one and did a little bit of kiting, but it was so inefficient to use throwing weapons that they were really only ever used to just pull a mob. And that's about it. You did not need to throw extra ones, nor did you need to waste talent points deep in the combat tree to get an extra 6 yards on it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this talent was useless, but not only that, it was a top talent, being only second to the final talent in the combat tree, Adrenaline Rush. That's why in patch 1.12, throw-in weapon specialization was removed from the combat tree, and instead it was replaced with weapon expertise, which was much better, as it gave the rogue 6 extra expertise in swords, fists, and dagger weapons. Number 7. Two-handed axes and maces. This was a 10-point enhancement shaman talent that allowed the shaman to use two-handed axes and maces. Pretty simple effect. Enhanced shamans also had a 20-point talent called parry, which allowed them to parry attacks. Here's the thing about these two talents. All other classes that can parry or use two-handed weapons get those abilities as baseline abilities, not something you have to talent into. And after Vanilla WoW, no classes had to use talent points to be able to use two-handed weapons or parry. But during Vanilla WoW, enhanced shamans had this unique distinction.
I forgot to get more
of needing
feathers.
to waste their talent points to get baseline stuff. But what made two-handed axes and maces kind of annoying, for lack of a better word, was the fact that if you swapped your talents and lost this talent point, you lost all of your skills in those weapons. So if you took this talent again later on, you'd have to skill up your two-handed axes and mace skill from 0. Vanilla WoW did not have dual talent specialization. That was not added until Wrath of the Lich King, so every time an enhanced shaman had to swap specs, they would have to spend a couple hours skilling up their skills in these two weapons, something no other class needed to do, because they were given their abilities to use weapons as baseline abilities, not talents. Number 6. The Lightwell. Lightwell is infamous for being one of the worst and poorly designed abilities in WoW's history, despite the fact that it seems like a pretty useful ability at first glance. Lightwell was a last point talent in the Holy Tree for priests, and had the effect of creates a holy lightwell near the priest, and party and raid members can click on the lightwell to restore health over 10 seconds. Being attacked cancels this effect. At first glance, seems pretty useful. The priest will place down a lightwell, and party members can click on it to heal themselves.
I'm gonna go ahead and turn this quest in.
Time, taking damage
I'm probably
will
gonna get
cancel
off for the night.
heal you got from the lightwell. I think this was in place
Unfortunately.
so that a healer couldn't just drop
I was
the
gonna play
lightwell
some
next
Red
to a
Dead,
tank,
but I don't even have
and
time
they
for
could just
that.
keep clicking on it to heal themselves while tanking. But this also made it kind of awkward to use for other people, as in a raid fight, you'd constantly be taking damage, which could easily cancel this effect. And there's also the thing that players have to click on it themselves if they want to get a heal. And it was easy for players to accidentally click it multiple times and use up too many of the charges at once. And there's also the thing that no one ever wanted to click on the lightwell. In fact, it was kind of infamous for this, and probably this reason alone. Blizzard even put it on some of their loading screen tips for people to just click on the lightwell. Blizzard tried so hard to get people to click on the lightwell that they eventually gave up and converted into something that would spit out heals to people, before finally removing the ability with Legion. And at number 5, we've got Lacerate, the last talent in the Survival Hunter tree. Lacerate is a pretty standard dot. It was a melee range bleed that did about 100 damage over 21 seconds, and did not scale.
Cheese?
Serpent Sting at
Yeah.
rank 4, which hunters obtained at
Yeah.
level 40, did 140 damage over 15 seconds, which is just a straight up better dot. And Serpent Sting is baseline, and a ranged ability. The max rank of Serpent Sting obviously did much more damage. Lacerate was just really bad for some reason. But also in the survival tree, there was an ability called Melee Specialization, which increased the damage a hunter did with melee weapons by 5%, and was at the 25-point talent mark, the second to last row before Lacerate in the survival tree. Hunters in Vanilla WoW had terrible melee damage.
Oh shit.
But Blizzard had a couple of abilities in the survival tree sorted towards melee. In patch 1.7, Lacerate was removed from the survival tree and replaced with Wavering String. And then after that, they didn't completely remove melee talents from the survival tree until Mists of Pandaria. Number 4, Blood Craze. Blood Craze
whatever.
is a 10-point Fury Warrior talent with the effect of regenerate 3% of your total health over 6 seconds after being the victim of a critical strike. Now at first glance, this may seem like a pretty niche heal. until you remember a few things about combat in Vanilla WoW. For one, its heal is really low, 3% of your total health over 6 seconds, as if getting 3% of your health instantly would be too much or something. But putting it as a 6-second hot, well, it's kind of like a worse version of Brush It Off. Brush It Off is the new Colteran human racial, which heals you for 2% of the damage you take over 4 seconds. Except Brush It Off works on any ability, and not just crits. Which brings me to another part of this ability. It only activates if you're subject to a critical strike. One of the tank's jobs is getting enough defense rating so that they won't be crit by bosses, who have an inherent 6% chance to crit. So Blood Craze isn't a tanking talent. Fury Warriors and raids should not be getting hit by anything. So it's not a PvE raid or dungeon talent. Out in the open world though, spells can't crit you, but physical, ranged, and melee attacks can. And if they do,
Of course.
they do so much damage that this tiny little heal isn't going to help very much, especially having to spend 3 points into it.
Oh, wow.
But what's funny about this talent
I got
is
two
that
shot.
this is the buffed version of Blood Craze. The original version of Blood Craze had this effect. Allows 15% of your health regeneration to work during combat for 20 seconds after being the victim of a critical strike. And health regeneration as a stat in Vanilla WoW is just referring to your out of combat health regeneration. You know, the thing that recovered incredibly slowly in Vanilla WoW? Health regeneration was so bad that the troll racial regeneration, which allowed 10% of your health regeneration to continue during combat at all times, was considered one of the worst racials in the game. And the original talent allowed you to sometimes have a slightly better version than the troll racial, only after being hit by a crit, of course. That is to say, Blood Craze was a very interesting talent, and for some reason was very rarely picked, despite warriors having almost no self-healing in vanilla. Number 3, Divine Strength. Let's play another little guessing game. I'm going to read off what this talent does, and then I want you to guess which paladin tree it's a deep talent in. Divine Strength increases your strength by 10% at 5 ranks. If you guessed it was a 25-point holy talent, and in the second to last row, you'd be correct. But did you also know holy paladins didn't do melee damage? Or they weren't supposed to anyway, in raids or PvP where it mattered. This is just another one of those interesting talents that would actually be really good for a lot of classes, but for some reason is given to a spec that doesn't need it, and that's why it was later removed from the Holy Tree. I should also mention that the last talent at the time was Holy Shock, which is a spell Holy Paladins have today, except in its first version, it only did damage at a 20-yard range and a 30-second cooldown. Holy Shock was supposed to be the Paladin version of the Shaman Shocks, except all 3 of the Shaman Shocks were really good, and had 6-second cooldowns. And for some reason they gave Paladins 1 shock with a much longer cooldown at 30 seconds, but with the same short 20-yard range, and not at all good. Later on in vanilla though, they did finally give it the option to heal instead of doing damage, which was the hallmark of the Holy Shock ability, where you could choose to do either or, but it still wasn't good. Blizzard had a really hard time getting Paladins to use Holy Shock, basically until they added Holy Power to the game in Cataclysm. Number 2, Primal Instincts. This was the final talent in the Feral Druid tree, which had the effect of lowering the mana cost of your shapeshifting by 25%. Now, shapeshifting was very mana intensive, and Blizzard did intend for druids to be able to change forms regularly during combat, but shapeshifting was too mana expensive, and a 25% reduction was not enough to encourage shapeshifting combat. And in fact, a 25% mana reduction to shapeshifting was a terrible final talent, and that's why they removed it and replaced it with something better. And then moved this talent to the balance tree in the second row of talents and renamed it to Natural Shapeshifter, which at 3 ranks reduced the mana cost of shapeshifting by 30%,
For you.
and at an easy
put it
point
on
to get to the
table.
talent tree, with only requiring 3 ranks. Wasn't half bad here. And that's the thing, this version of it was just straight up better than Primal Instincts, and even then, it's a pretty meh talent, which should go to show how terrible Primal Instincts was, It was a worst version of Natural Shapeshifter, and one of the final talents the Feral Druid could take, a role usually taken up by one of their best abilities or talents. And finally, number 1, Master Conjurer. This was a 15-point Demonology talent that, at max rank, reduced the mana cost and casting time of your stone creations by 40%. Here's the thing about Warlock stones. They could only create 4 of them. 2 of them were basically useless, and the 2 useful ones, the Health Stone and Soul Stone,
I'm
were
getting off
never
for the night.
casted in combat. All 4 of them were things you casted outside.
Thanks anyone who's watching. Thanks anyone who has watched. And thanks anyone who will watch. Kind of a boring stream today. Not near as good as my last couple, but you know what? I'm a little tired. And I was listening to videos, so it's kind of a brain dead experience.